The Mitchells versus the Machines, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and the bad guys all have one thing in common. They're inspired by Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. For a little context, the Spider-Verse movies are the first two movies of a trilogy. These movies have been critically acclaimed for their animation and have been widely praised for it. Me personally, I've watched the movies over 10 times combined. Today, I want to take a closer look at the actual animation style of the movies and how it was made. Learning about the Spider-Verse's animation style and how it was made will prepare you to understand animation in greater detail. First, I'll dive into the animation style they use, and then I'll actually look at how they made it. So let's start with their animation style. Primarily, they use 3D animation. Now you may be asking yourself, what is 3D animation? Well, kind of think of it like a puppet show. First, you have your puppet. This is a 3D model that would be inside the computer. Then the puppeteer or animator will move the model using its joints to position it how he wants it. Then he'll take a screenshot, or what is called a frame. Then he'll move it again and take another screenshot. After repeating this process for hundreds and thousands of screenshots, you'll have an animation that allows the character to move as if he were a real person. This is essentially what the movie uses. But they don't just use 3D animation. The Spider-Verse movies also use 2D animation. 2D animation is a similar thing to 3D animation, but instead of having a physical model inside the computer, they have drawings. Now, mostly these drawings are used to accent what is already on the screen. For example, in the picture on this slide, you see the little squiggle marks to show the spider sense that he has. There are more accents than the actual base of the movie. Not only do they use them as accents, though, they actually use it to pace the movie. The movie, according to Darren James, who is writing for the Motion Picture Association, animating on ones mean there are 24 individual drawings for each second of animation. The twos has 12 drawings per second, and threes there are 8. Fours has only 6 drawings per second. But what does this actually mean? The Spider-Verse movies are unique in the fact that they have different frame rates for different scenes of the movie. So for one scene, they might have 24 drawings per second of viewing. However, another scene, they might only have 8. They do this to add emotional impact. As you can see on the screen, the 8s look more jaggedy and quick and boisterous, whereas the threes are more smooth. Ultimately, they use these different frame rates to have greater impact on the audience. Finally, the Spider-Verse uses several different artistic styles. If I were to ask you what the similarities were between a comic book panel, a watercolor painting, and a collage of newspaper clippings, you probably wouldn't come up with very much other than the fact that they're art. But the Spider-Verse movies blend all of these seamlessly into one movie. They use all sorts of different techniques to blend all of these different styles into one movie. Now that we've looked at the animation style of the Spider-Verse movies, let's turn to how the movies were actually made. The different styles allowed for them to have several different characters, from a Lego Spider-Man to a cat Spider-Man. But ultimately, there's also a lot of cost that goes into it. According to Ollie Bradley from Screen Rant, Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse cost $90 million and $100 million respectively. So they're very expensive movies to make. But there's also a problem of burnout. According to Chris Lee of The Vulture, the movies were uniquely arduous, involving a relentless kind of revisionism, and compelled approximately 100 artists to flee the movie before its completion. Basically, the scale of the movie and the dedication it would take to finish the movie caused hundreds of artists to have burnout. And finally, there's the problem of technology. According to Surya, writer for Medium, he tells us that they went truly above and beyond, building a machine learning model with all of the hand-drawn data that would learn these hand-drawn techniques and would predict how it could look in newer frames. They had developed entirely new technology to make this movie. Ultimately, a lot goes into making an animated movie, especially when it's a masterpiece. Ultimately, though, the result was a uniquely designed style that has been critically acclaimed. A lot of people, when they watch movies, they focus on the characters and the story. But animation has a huge impact on how we see movies. Ultimately, by learning more about the Spider-Verse movies, you are now better prepared to watch animated movies in the future.